Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to do the last of our series talking all about the election steal. Now, you could say there's a ton more videos I could do about election steal, and there might be, but we're going to move on. We're going to talk about, next one, we're going to talk about California and the fraud issues. I have that one next up on my list. But let's dive in and we're going to talk about the Michigan 2020 evidence of the election fraud issues. I'm going to show you stuff that's right before your eyes. And I haven't really dove in to people push back and they say two things. They say, why do you care about 2020? It's been almost 6 years since, 2020. And I'm like, because they keep stealing. Like, if someone stole your iPhone, do you let them keep stealing? Like, if they stole your iPhone and you knew who did it, would you keep letting them steal from you? And you knew who did it. I'm telling you, if you knew that Joey next door stole from you, would you keep letting them do it? You would report them. And frankly, if it didn't work on the reporting issue, you'd rip them out of their position. You would protest until they felt so uncomfortable about being in that position, you would mess with their complete lives until it was so uncomfortable they just couldn't be in that position. That's exactly what Nick Shirley did with idiot tampon Tim. That's what happens. Okay. We are going to keep doing it until the military has nothing left but taking these idiots out of their position, drag them out by the nape of their necks. Okay. That's what we keep doing. Okay. And number two, we're going to talk a little bit about the SCOTUS issues that they have done. And here's the thing, they were treasonous in not showing it. And I'm going to show you the evidence. It is so clear, it's so easy to show, and we're going to show you why it has to be done militarily. Okay, so let's show you the first piece of evidence. This is super simple. You show these kinds of video evidence. I'm right now in the middle of a potential court case. Sorry, I see something on my camera here. I'm right in the middle of an IT issue that could potentially go to a court case. And I mean, this guy is a complete moron. And I promise you, if it goes to court, he is gonna get lambasted. We're in the middle of a settlement issue, but there's no way he gets away with it, kind of thing. And you have to look at the principle of issues and contract law issues. But these kinds of things, this kind of stuff kind of comes up, right? And so if you dropped this kind of stuff,
and the person behind her rolls down the window and hands her a ballot to put in the ballot box with her stack, and then she goes back to her car with the stack of ballots again. And I think at that point she realized that the ballots were not signed, and so you're going to watch her sign each ballot in the vehicle. And she signs them and then puts them on the dashboard individually. First she searches for a pen, so it takes a second, but we've got this speeded up so you can see. But yeah,
look at that.
So she's signing, and when it's slowed down, you can see the pen in her hand when she reaches up and puts the ballot on the dashboard each time.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so
that's it.
You guys are
good find. Good find. That's
yeah, they did a great job.
Find.
They did a great job finding this, and as you can see, there it is right there, and they did a close up.
See, what would happen if you saw that? It would take every single ballot that was in there and corrupts the whole system with that.
With the camera, the footage is very clear. There it shows right.
Which means that person is actually in line for 25 years.
Box, so mission accomplished.
Unbelievable.
Sickness. Okay. Let me show you something else real interesting. It might be a little bit hard to see. Okay. So I see and raise you an order. This is someone saying this, an order of magnitude in Michigan. 353,000 ballots cast in 2020. Okay. and it's growing in tiers. So here's what happens in these ballots, and he's showing from different time frames, which and what they I looked at the ones delayed votes added of 106,000 votes that they added. 106,000 votes they added. And they just put in a ton of extra votes that they just kept adding over and over and over again. No, and they removed votes. They added votes. See, they just kept screwing around with the votes. This is what they love doing. Okay? Okay. So let's just show you an interesting one of drop-off ballots. This one should blow your mind when you hear this.
TCF that morning. So we put in a request to get this video. It took months. And we got this at Gateway Pundit. We put this up on Twitter, on our site. We tweeted about it, and that's when we lost our Twitter account, by the way.
Think about that for a second. Twitter, and it happened over and over again. Twitter was complicit in this kind of thing. This is before Elon bought it. Okay, so Twitter actually deleted people's accounts, and all the social media ones deleted people's accounts. They were complicit in this kind of thing because they were telling people about real issues that were happening in the American public. This is communism all over again.
This video. There's a lead car, an escort car that comes in. You can see here each time he hands something to the people inside, and then this van drives in, and they actually came in twice.
Now, think about what this van is. This is a post office van. This isn't just like any van. So this is U.S. Post Office Service. So now we got a government van that is supporting an election. What does it take to get a post office van to support a government situation? This tells you how systemic we have a problem.
Now, we had local media, one of the top reporters there, I'm not going to mention his name. He said that this never happened. He was there all night. There was no fraud. Nothing happened. So now we have the video of that. What's interesting about this, though, and that's why we included it today, is, for one, it'd be wonderful to have some ping data on who these people are driving the escort car, because we found out later this escort car was from
I was just thinking that.
A Pennsylvania license. So it's a rental car, we believe. But what we found from Patty's group, the Michigan group, is they counted the Dropbox ballots the last couple days, and there was only about 1,400 in the area that were dropped off the last 2 days, the ones that they count.
1,400 ballot boxes. Okay, what? Hundreds of ballot boxes that they dropped off. I just showed you how many the box points there with that.
They've actually watched every drop box and counted the ballots for every single person that dropped a ballot in Detroit. So they counted the ballots, and that's about the number that they came up with, around 1,340.
Yeah, 1,400. And then when these were dropped off and they got caught, they came out and said, well, it was just 16,000 ballots.
See, this isn't just happening in Michigan. It isn't just happening in Minnesota. It's happening in, Wisconsin, happening in New York. It was happening in California. It was happening in Colorado. It was happening in frankly, do you know that it was even happening potentially? Someone in Oklahoma City noticed it at a wedding. They had a wedding in a hotel, and they noticed it in a dumpster as they were throwing out stuff in a dumpster in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma was 96% for Trump in 2016, and it went like 80% Trump in 2020. Now, think about this. There's a huge Democrat kind of thing in the Oklahoma City area. So what they were trying to do is stuff the ballots for Oklahoma City, for instance, state reps, right? State Senate, state reps, House. So that's what they're not just doing president stuff. So we're talking about state reps and states, so state Senate. Uh, um, you're talking about Congress and Senate. You're talking about councils. See, this is not just about presidential kind of stuff. You're talking about school board election. You're talking about pushing forward in a whole bunch of different areas that they do. This is a coordinated attack that has been going on for generations in this way. Okay? All right. So let's show you. And frankly, Joe Biden was trying to tell you this one. Listen to this one.
And you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
They were trying to tell you this, but you weren't listening. Were you listening to this? Listen to it again.
We have put together, and you guys did it for our the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
By the way, I want you to kind of catch something here that's real interesting. Do you notice Biden is Biden with the, and they take away the E and they put in a 3. 3, 3, 3, 3. Now, if you go back, and I love this kind of interesting stuff here. Every time you saw and this is numerology kind of conversations that you'll see in biblical numerology, you love this kind of stuff. When you saw COVID kind of things, you saw that 33 people died or 33 people were infected over and over again. Why did they use this? It's because 33 is a number that adds up to 6. 6 is the number of Satan. Why did you have to stand 6 feet apart? Why not 7 feet apart? Why not 5 feet apart? Why not 8 feet? Because they wanted to use the satanic kinds of numbers. They were putting out these these sixes. So instead of putting 6 numbers, they would put 3 numbers, 3, 3, 3, 3. These are just the ways that they liked to mess with you in different circumstances. It's how they like doing it, right? The testimonies were in front of your face and you weren't hearing them because it was passing through, it was passing through your subconscious minds, laying it inside of your subconscious mind, and you weren't catching it all the way through.
Challenger, one of the incidents, Mrs. C, it was written on her shirt, brought down a box of ballots. Since they're in stacks of 50, I could estimate it was about 500 ballots. Gave this box of ballots to 3 ladies sitting at a table just off the platform. Excuse me, I'm nervous. One of the ladies, the far left one, tried to get our attention. She ended up giving us notes that were stuck on all these ballots, the sticky notes. She ended up giving us 4 of these notes. They read, received November 4th, enter as November 2nd. These 3 ladies were entering these ballots in to the verified voter system. She also got my attention, turned around, tried to get me to see her laptop monitor, which I leaned in and saw, and she wanted me to see the signature. The signature on the screen was some huge circles like that, a signature. Signature on the ballot was little tiny vertical sticks. It wasn't even in the same solar system, definitely different signatures. And this one lady that was trying to help us ended up being Jesse Jacobs, the whistleblower. Onto the tabulators, I witnessed multiple times stacks of 50 ballots being put through the tabulators multiple times.
Wait a second, guys. Is that not evidence? If I showed that on TV, if I showed that on a national level, this is sitting on an oversight committee level situation. I'm just think about that for a second. That is in Michigan's oversight. That is a testimony of someone whose credible evidence, and you go, wait, is that credible evidence of someone who's there watching it? Case closed. I'll give you a second evidence.
In the morning. At midnight, Trump was ahead 10%, which was an unusually high amount. To about 2 o'clock in the morning, my monitor went down. It totally rebooted. So unless you can tell me there wasn't a data dump, there wasn't a data breach, I don't believe that the numbers were true, because when I went home and woke up, all of a sudden Biden was ahead. We had processed 120,000 votes by midnight out of the 170,000 absentee ballots we were expecting. So I assumed we were missing about 50,000, and all of a sudden Biden was now missing. And Sidney Powell did discuss something about this in Rudy Giuliani's press conference, and I do believe I did witness that. And the voting had stopped in the middle of the night. So unless you were one of the few processing tables, you would not have seen this rebooting of the laptops.
There's a theme here. When you were watching people get thrown out, did you know whether or not they were Republican or Democrat as they were getting booted out?
It depends if they clapped or not. Anytime they clapped, you knew that was a Republican.
I mean, listen, what else do I need to hear? Well, let's listen to someone else here.
Were any of the GOP challengers in accordance with Michigan laws? We were constantly prevented from getting close enough to see what was going on with respect to the ballots. Procedures were not being properly followed. When we brought these to the attention of the supervisors, our concerns were dismissed and ignored. We observed ballots being backdated from 11/4 to 11/2, and data being entered into the computers for these mail-in ballots. Poll workers were entering ballot information from new mail-in ballots, including dates of birth of 1/1/1900, into the electronic poll books and processing those ballots for tabulation. The information wasn't in either the electronic poll book or the paper supplement book prior to that.
Now think about that for a second. 1/1/1900. They've been doing this systemically for generations. I keep saying that same thing to you. It's just 1/1/1900, 1/1/1900, 1/1/1900. They've been doing it for years, over and over and over again. Why? Because they've been doing it so long, they've never been caught. They don't expect to be caught. Why don't they expect to be caught? Because no one's ever caught them. No one's ever done it. See, it's kind of like you know, like I'm going to give you an example. If I play a game, I tend to play video games, and I'm playing by myself. Do I ever cheat on a video game? You bet your butt I play video games and I cheat. Why? Because I'm playing against myself. I don't care if I cheat on a video game with myself. Like if I do cheat codes, I enter a cheat code on a video game, do I care? You're expected to play. I mean, I buy a video game, I download a video game, and I'm playing by myself. Do I care if I cheat on a video game? Right? Does it matter? No. An online video game obviously can't cheat because you can't really go in and cheat on that. But these people cheat on an election and these people are cheating on an election that affects millions of other people. But here's the thing, they're cheating in Detroit that affects all of their neighbors. But here's the thing, it doesn't just affect all of their neighbors, it affects 330 million other people. And nay, it affects everyone on the planet. And it is a federal law that puts them, that will put them in, and they've never been caught on it. And they keep doing the same stupid thing. They're not even good in putting in different dates for these different people. So they just put the same stupid date over and over again. And they don't even switch it up.
There's been lots and lots of reports after the election counting process. First of all, I did email a copy of what I'm reading from to each of the Republican senators and the House of Representative members. So I'd be happy to provide this to you. Dead people were voting. I sent a website to that effect, and the list that they had up to that date was 17,327 randomly checked Michigan voters that were registered for voting and were above the age of 80. Every name on this list has voted in the 2020 election. Check for yourself, and has also been found in one or more of the obituaries online.
Random
this
votes.
is the most important election in my lifetime, and I think the most important election in the history of our republic. Every legislator, whether seated in the House or the Senate, whether Democrat or Republican, took an oath to defend the U.S. and state constitutions of the U.S. and Michigan against enemies both foreign and domestic. Time is of the essence, and now is the time to fulfill that oath. Despite what the media is telling everyone, there are mountains of evidence that voter fraud occurred on a massive scale, the likes of which we've never witnessed in the country.
I'm going to flash forward to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, and you get the idea. So, I mean, now here's what I want you to show you on this one here. Let's bring this up on the stage here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Sorry if it's not easy. This is actually just one. We could bring up 1,000,000 of these. This is what U.S. Supreme Court tells you, that they rejected Trump-backed bid to overturn the election. And they tell you this: lawsuit filed by this week in the Texas state of Texas sought to invalidate the results in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. They said the lawsuit was supported by 18 state attorneys generals, 100 Republican members of Congress, and the ruling represents a setback for Trump. Let's see here. The margin of vote was 306 to 232. Supreme Court wanted nothing to do with the Texas challenge. The ruling was slightly longer than a one-sentence motion. Let's see here. The Texas attempt to throw out millions of votes and effectively hand the presidency to Mr. Trump had merit. They said, like, it had merit. The implications of the challenge were unlikely to fade away. The 18 states and more than 100 members endorsed discarding the results of the election. And I mean, Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizant interest in a manner in which another state conducts its elections. Wait, did you not see enough information that indicates that there is a mess in the elections? What? The court failed to do so, Trump later wrote. Later, they didn't do it. This is how broken even the courts do. And so you go, the court, he lost all of its court cases. This is what people will say to me, right? But here's what I say back to you. So every single one of the courts, in every single one of the states that don't have a photo ID. Now this is Harris. This is in the 2024 area, and they've changed some of this. Michigan actually does now have voter ID. I mean, you got to get to see it. So here's Wisconsin, here's Michigan, right? They changed some of this stuff up, but no voter ID in some of these states. Like, if you don't have voter ID, I have to have an ID to do all of the kinds of things, to get on a freaking airplane, to do a million other things, right? To drive around in a car, to walk into a hospital, and a million other things, but I don't have to have voter ID, ID to vote in an election. And how many of these do we actually worry about an election? Like, do I have to have an ID to vote in Spain's election? And we just talk about this all the time. And yet, and they're so respectful of Biden or Harris. And yet, this is the lunatic that we thought of, right? Sorry. They're shaking hands, Macron, but he's trying to sit in a chair, and they're like, no, no. She's like, no, no, stand up. No, no, stand up. No, no, stand up. He can't even, what is he, crapping his pants there? I want you to see this, and I know some of you have seen this, but not all of you have seen this. This is the actual election results. People in Germany saw this before Dominion servers were actually seized. Did you know that if we really saw the election results, that this is what Trump would have won by? California actually was won. This is what would have really happened, even with all of the real stuff that they messed with election issues. But Colorado was close to being won by Trump. That all of these areas, even the northern states, a couple of these northern states, obviously these are real stronghold areas, that he would have won by 410 to 128 in 2020. That would have been one of the greatest landslides since what? Reagan in 84. That would have made, and I think that when we see this down the road, when people really understand this, this is what we're going to see. We're already starting to see some of that stuff. We're already starting to see the chip away issues. I mean, have you noticed that, you know, we're talking about reparations, and then we're talking about, you know, Palestine, and then that one's resolved, and then they're for Maduro, and then they're for, you know, they have no kings reference, and then they're for Maduro, who's a narco terrorist, and I'm like, they don't even know who they're for. And next day they pull out flags for this, and next day, you know, so like, are you really going to stick up for a narco terrorist? I mean, like, really? I mean, do you know that there is the Democrats, like Schumer, actually said in 2019 that we had to get rid of Maduro, and yet he was and then they then they get upset when we did get rid of him. Let me tell you, as we end this kind of thing, let me say this. Why was Venezuela so important? Why did we take out Venezuela? The Dominion machines were made in Venezuela. They were controlled in Venezuela for Venezuela. They were set in America for America. So they were set for Venezuela. They were put in 32 states. They really wanted it in all the states. Most of the states said, the other states said, no, we're not going to do it. Now, Pam Bondi said, well, we're not going to charge Maduro for election fraud. And some of you are upset about that. And I would say, don't be upset about it. Why? Because this is a military issue. 13848. Election fraud has to be done by military issue. This is Trump and the military that has to go off of it. We don't want DOJ to go after this. We don't want Pam Bondi to do this because it will not be done by the DOJ or FBI or CIA or any of those kind of three-letter agencies. We have to have a military issue that goes after this, because what would happen is it has to be done by military. Military took out Maduro. Military is going to take out all of this kind of stuff. We have treason going on, and you are going to see the drop off of all of the election fraud because it's going to take out all of the systems that we see. We're going to see some really cool things in this first quarter. Thanks so much.